Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Hi to everyone who's joining in with us today for our part 3 of our 4-part Healthspan Hacks How Not to Die series. So this week we will be talking about research. For those of you that don't know me, I am Courtney. I work here at Boulder Longevity Institute with Dr. Yurth and have gotten to know Lisa really well. And I am here just to help keep us on time track and make sure we respect everyone's time and make sure everyone knows what's going on. So I think today the conversation will really be, Dr. Yurth and Lisa both sharing a lot of how they vet and find research, right? There's so much information out there. And I know as a consumer, as a patient, it's very confusing to kind of figure out what you're supposed to be looking for and how you vet if that's real information or not. And from both the clinical side and then from Lisa kind of self-educating and finding this and how she knows how to find research to trust, I think they have a lot of good tips to share. So with that, I will let you guys both dive in.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Courtney.
Thanks, Courtney.
Lovely introduction. Hello, everybody. So today we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into how to get your research, how to find the information that you really need. And because there's a heck of a lot of crap out there in the world of the internet. And often, when I go to my doctor or something and I say, hey, I read this somewhere on the internet, then their eyes glaze over and they roll their eyes. And that's really unfair as well, because the best information in the world is all archived, of course, via the internet. So there is valuable, and this is the first time in history that people who don't have a medical background can actually access a ton of really top information. In fact, I don't even need to go to Harvard University to listen to lectures from professors from Harvard. This is an exciting time to be living, and it gives us a chance to take control of our own health. But today, Dr. Yurth and I are going to discuss all the pitfalls and how to do that. So, Dr. Yurth, where do we start with this big world of research?
Yeah, you said that brought to mind a couple of my old partners at my orthopedic practice. If patients would say, "Well, I read on Google," they say, "Stay off Dr. Google." They would get really angry when people would come to them with questions that arose because they Googled something, right? And I always encourage my patients to do that. I said, sometimes you find things that I don't know, and bring it to me and we'll talk about it. So I think that you should be researching, you should be looking at stuff, and but you need to be able to have to be able to sort out. Not everything you're reading on Google is going to be right, and of course, not everything your doctor is going to tell you is going to be right either. So you have to sort of sort through things and figure that out. And I do think that's where kudos to people like you, Lisa, and people in this world where you're trying to get experts, right? You sort of delve out, wow, this is an expert in Dr. Goodnow on plasmalogens.
Yeah.
You bring the people who actually are the main researchers in these topics. So I love what you can actually get out of shows like yours, podcasts like yours, where you are finding the person who is deep in the research place, right? Because those are the people oftentimes who really do know the most. And so I think that is a really good, access is when you find really good podcasters, people who are in this space and are searching out the main people in the space. It's really good to listen to. You'll get, I've listened to some of your podcasts where these, the people who were the first in on hyperbaric or the first in on, on a certain nutrient. There's a lot there. But hand in hand with that, going through your Instagram feeds or doing things like that, there's a lot of people you guys have to understand that are being paid a lot of money to push a certain substance, right? So just because a person, tells you, oh, this is the supplement I take every day, keep in mind that a lot of times that person was paid $20,000 or $30,000 to actually say that. So you have to look for, sort of some independence in there too, and listen to the researchers, not just some Instagram influencer who's trying to sell you something. A lot of that is paid influencing, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, I get offers all the time, and sometimes I will work with a company where I've searched them out or I've done the research on them and I really like their thing.
Right.
But you do have to understand that there is, and this is not just in the Instagram influencer world. Actually, like this is in everywhere. It's human nature. There just because someone is a doctor or a scientist or something, it does not make them automatically beyond any moral, like they're a saint. That isn't
Right.
true. There are people that are making money, whether they're scientists and doctors or whether they're lay people or influencers. So just don't go through the world being, like suspicious of everybody, but don't, trust and verify.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like when I'm lecturing at conferences, one of the things you have to always say is you have to do disclosures. So that if I'm lecturing on something, I have to do disclosures. I have to say, hey, I'm financially, invested in this company, and this company. I'm not. I really don't have any financial investments in any of those. But because you can find that too if you look at a paper, right? There are disclosures in there where you can say, oh well, this person works for the company that wants this pharmaceutical to come to market. That has to warp you a little bit because there is, you're right, in the scientific literature world, there is also a lot of people who are pushing an agenda, right? And that's why you're doing your research to some. I'm not going to criticize that. You have to have a passion to do research. Research is hard and it takes time and it takes a lot of money. So, but there also needs to be an open-mindedness. If I'm so married to what I'm researching that nothing is ever going to change my mind about it, then that's a problem. There's this old adage called, I can't remember when it was in the medical world. I think it sort of started somewhere else. Was this whole adage of strong convictions loosely held, meaning I should feel strongly about something, but I should be able to change my opinion, right?
Yep, absolutely.
How many times have you really thought something was the latest and the greatest?
Oh,
and we all hopped on that bandwagon. It looked amazing. And then some research came out that said,
Yep. Yeah. Time and time again.
Right.
And, and that is the thing, that it is an ever-changing beast. Like, and science is not a unified body of knowledge. Like you will get and you will find, and this exasperates people as well, is that you'll get one study saying something and another study saying the exact opposite, and you're left as a layperson going, so it's reading sometimes more than the abstract, reading more than the headlines for sure, because sometimes the headlines, as all headlines are there to grab your attention and don't actually tell the entire story. So if we go in and talk about, specific studies where when you're reading a study, a clinical research has come out and you're reading it, how do you make an assessment against what you know already? And is this a really well-designed experiment or study? Or is this something that, I need to go and double check that one.
So I think a couple points that you made there. So first of all, you're right. Science is never we have absolutely 100% without any reasonable doubt proven this. I mean, we just can't ever do that. There is nothing in science, nothing, not even, the theory of evolution that we can absolutely 100% prove, right? So we can, to the best of our ability, make an assumption, but frustratingly, it's never 100% certain. That said, if we waited for something to be 100% certain, we would be doing nothing. We would never move forward. So there has to be everything we're doing in medicine. There is, and this is again, I can never guarantee you, for instance, if I give you a supplement or a drug that is 100% going to do what it's supposed to do, and 100% you're not going to have any issues with it, right? I just can't do that. And it's frustrating to people. I mean, you probably get this question. Well, can I be, 100% certain this is going to help me? I'm like,
yeah, no,
I can't, right? So everything we do has to be with investigation, but with also a little bit of a, we're going to have to move forward sometimes, despite the possibility that that there's a small possibility that this is not going to do what it said. So I think that the concept of 100% certainty in science is never going to happen, and we have to be able to accept that and be able to do things regardless, or we will never move forward. But it's a classic paper by a guy, John Ioannidis. He's a physician, scientist, writer. He's a Stanford University professor, and he studies research. So that's his whole field, is looking at research and understanding the pitfalls behind research. And he published a really famous paper that came out in 2005, and it's still quoted to today on why most published research